All right, all right, all right, all right. This is the day, and I'm happy to be here with this unusual, actually, audience for Geekle. I hope you can see me and you can hear me well. Let me know, please. Um, uh, please let me know if you can hear me. Put plus or something in chat, and let's communicate. I'm Ed, CEO and founder of Geekle. Geekle is an online community of 250, more than 250,000 software developers and IT related people around the world. And our mission is to gather the freshest knowledge and spread around the world, find some, uh, talents, finding wait a second. I need to check this. Yeah, lots of plus. Yes. All right. All right. Hello. Yeah, we're finding new ideas, new use cases, new success stories, and spread around the world. And this is how we move tech faster. Um, Today is our very first attempt to work with, you know, non-technical leadership. Uh, it's something important even for me as a leader of my team. Um, we've been thinking, well, if you are a software developer who want to grow, you go to you attend different conferences and learn from different coaches or not coaches. I mean, um, programs or courses. And I think this is a good idea to create the platform for non-technical questions, non-technical problems. And this is our first attempt. Most of interesting topics and speakers asked for more time to prepare. So we divided this event in two parts. This is the part one. We didn't make a really great pump on this event. So far we have like 300 registrations on this event because we want to make this first, communicate, get your feedback on this event, on these ideas, on topics, on speakers and everything. And next, make better. Of course, if you have access to the part one, or you have automatically access to part two. So don't worry, once we prepare everything technically, we'll send tickets to you to attend that second part for free. So this is our very first touch to this leadership skill set problems or whatever. I want to invite here my team. Here's Nika. She's an event manager who prepared this event, who combined, who outreached, who worked with the speakers a lot. Hey, Nika, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you? I'm
Yeah, I'm
excited.
excited.
Uh,
I'm excited. And how are you? What do you feel?
I'm actually really excited about this event, and I'm excited to hear a lot of knowledge from our speakers, to hear a lot of insights regarding leadership and some leadership skills. And even for me, I'm not an tech guy, I'm not into IT, but even for me, it will be interesting to hear about soft skills and stuff. So, yeah, I hope that we all will benefit from this conference. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, same as I, because the first speaker is uh, given the topic of how to create a thriving and trusted team culture. That's what I want in my team, and yeah, I am expecting for this talk, of course. Yeah, and Paul is here. Paul is a part of team. He in charge of partnerships. So if you have any ideas on our events, you want to participate as keynote speaker or as a
Yeah.
sponsor, or you need group discount for your company. This is to our Paul, and Paul is really deep in all this new stuff, new tech, new use cases. So whatever happens in tech field, new Paul already knew about that yesterday. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Doing great. Morning, everyone. Glad to see you. Pardon for some noise. That was my coffee machine. This is like perfect timing from the long game. Like just when you introduced me, I muted myself and the coffee machine started to clean in itself. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining us. Happy to be here, as Ed mentioned. So we're the part of the team that organizes this stuff, and sometimes I'm responsible for a weird quick name. So the name of the summit is Run IT, because several people, several clients asked me run it, like it what? No, it's Run IT. Yeah, so just a quick disclaimer. Yeah, and so basically we're here like to talk about like tech leadership, to talk about various topics that can actually help you with actually leading your team and helping yourself in the midst of this season when some companies laying off people, some companies having problems with actually adopting to like to the new normal version 1.1 and everything after the COVID, after the crisis and stuff. And yeah, so we're glad to host some amazing speakers. We're glad to have Mary Claire with us, who's going to be the next speaker, and also we're going to have Otavio Santana with us, and lots of great people who actually know how to bring more vibrancy and hope and happiness into our tech teams. And yeah, we're excited to have everyone. And as Ed mentioned, the part two, the part two of the summit, scheduled for somewhere mid-October, November, and we expect to have some great speakers also over there, because summer season, sometimes it's hard to get yourself off the pool and to get yourself working and submitting CFPs and filling in 15 fields of the form. Yeah, so yeah, but we're so happy
Yeah,
to.
and I'm super thankful to every speaker, every program committee member, everybody who contributed at least a minute of your time or $1 to this project, to this community. Thank you very much. I truly think we do something really important for this universe, because once innovation found, as faster we deliver this innovation to offices, as better life should be. I hope it will better because of
That's the plan.
civilization movements. Yeah, we hope that, because lots of uh, ideas about this machine rebellion and everything, and I hope machines will never replace leadership through charisma and everything. I'm not sure it's possible, but I don't know. I read yesterday about this sensor in your ear that can listen to your inner music in your brain. I don't want to talk about that. Yeah. Anyway, this event is about um, to begin, and we have Otavio Santana here with us as the moderator of first block. Hello, Otavio.
Hello, hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night. It's super amazing to be here again. Hello, Ed. Hello, Nika.
Yay!
Hello, Paul. Oh, yes. Let's talk about tech
Yeah,
leadership. Uh,
yeah. Let's talk.
I kind of disagree with you because, on my perspective, leadership is also a hard skill. I mean, it's part of being a software engineer, especially because soft development goes beyond code. Because we need to interact with people, right? Our client are people. The stakeholder is around people. Everything goes through people, right? I mean, is it possible to escape? We do
So,
software with people, to people, through people, and for people.
absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I'm super happy to see you, Otavio, again here with us. Thank you for contributing your time and your smiles to this community. Yeah, yeah. I just want to leave the stage to give the space to you and do, guys, your magic. And one of the most, um, you know, engaged watchers and audience is me, because I want to know it. I want to grow in this the field. Okay, the stage is yours. Just feel free to do whatever you think is right to do. Have a
Okay.
good day. Good luck.
Okay, okay, let's start our day today. It's super amazing. Please let me know where you're from and where you're working right now. So, are you a manager? Are you a CTO? Are you a director? Please let us know. And to start this amazing day, let's talk about culture, right? I mean, how to create thriving, trusted team culture. Because, as I said, everything is about people. And the best person to explain more to us about this is Mary Claire, who is CTO of Trustology. Salut, Mary Claire. Ça va?
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. So super excited to learn more about trust and team culture.
Yeah, I'm excited to share some stuff with you and everyone.
Oh, nice. Please go ahead. The stage is
Yeah,
yours.
cool. All right, lovely. Well, did you know that 30% to 40% of the variance in teams' morale, performance, and behaviors can be explained by what managers and leaders do? Your impact as a leader actually impacts your employees' well-being and whether they will reach their full potential. Now, the good news is you can actually control how people experience you and the team. And today I'm going to share with you 3 secrets on how you can do this and improve your results. So let's get started. So before we go any further, it'd be good to get some context. And I want to share with you that, of course, when COVID happened back in 2020, we got locked into our houses, and it gave us a time to really reevaluate what we want from our personal lives and our work lives. And what happened is that we started to really embrace that our well-being was important. In fact, what's really interesting now is that young people coming into the workforce see mental health and even therapy as just normal topics of discussion. But of course, since COVID, we've had a few other issues. There have been supply chain issues, the war in Ukraine, and it's really impacting the financial well-being of people all around the world because cost of living has really increased. But of course, human beings, we're quite an anxious lot anyway. But when there are restructures, a threat of redundancies, and AI taking jobs, it starts to take its toll. And then, of course, people are actually feeling socially isolated when they're working remotely all the time. But what's interesting is now employees really are expecting organizations and their leaders to be more human-centric than ever before. And what's core to this is being a leader who can build trust in teams. And I want to just take you through this study. Now, this was done back in 2019, and it was done with 50,000 survey participants. Now, I'm actually an ex-market researcher. Now, when you get 50,000, oh my gosh, even when you get 1,000 people doing a survey, you get pretty excited by the results because you know they're going to be really accurate. But this survey found that when they asked employees how much, if they trusted their teammates, their team leaders and senior leaders, they actually found that when people trusted in 2 of those 3 categories, they were 3 times as likely to be fully engaged and resilient than others. But the real payoff was when they trusted in all 3 categories. They were 15 times as likely to be fully engaged and 42 times as likely to be highly resilient. Now, I can tell you that in other studies around the world, and even in research that I've done, people are more likely to trust their teammates and then their boss. I mean, you think about it. When you've been in a team, who do you trust? Your teammates, your boss. But senior leaders, not so much because they're more far removed. And this, of course, can be a bit of an issue because according to a study that was done last year by Deloitte Digital, 1 in 4 employees trust their employer, the company they work at. But that's not so bad. I don't think 25% is that bad, to be honest, because not everyone's very trusting. But the real issue is that leaders often overestimate how much their workforce trusts them by 40%. And that's where I see the biggest issues are. But the good news is when you have trusting employees, you get 260%, that's huge, of people being more motivated to work. You have 41% lower rates of absenteeism, and you're 50% less likely to look for another job. Now, trust is one of those things that when I do research and people talk about trust, it's basically when you feel really seen and valued and heard. This is so important for our well-being. When we are trusted to do good work and we know that core to this is that need that we have for people to trust us and that we want to trust them to do the right thing by us. And what trust does is that when you have it in your team, what people describe it to me as, it's like this positive buzz. It's this beautiful energy that we all crave. And it's this exciting, positive momentum. Now, for you as leaders, now, if you're not a leader, that's all cool. You're going to be a leader one day, or you might want to be, but these are really important things to understand whether you're a leader or not. But when you are a trusted leader, people want to work with you and your team. I was doing this leadership offsite, and it was with a bank, and everyone loved this executive. And they actually, this big bank in Australia where I'm from, people were just really wanting to be in this team. This woman was like a talent magnet to high performers because people had heard about how much she supported people. And of course, when you have this team environment, you get things done because you're not getting all those really icky people problems, and you feel happy in your job. It's really exciting to get to work, solve problems with your colleagues, and you get better opportunities. Now, I'm not just talking job offers. I'm also talking really exciting projects that really stretch you. Now, I've talked a lot about trust, but I've done one thing that I should have done earlier. But, sometimes I like to, take my time, and that is define it, because trust might be a small word, but oh my gosh, it does mean so many different things to people. Now, I only deal with trust at work, but the definition that I like to use is that it's the ability for everyone in an organization to confidently rely on and predict that others will do the right thing and make good on their promises. Now, you think about it. When you have low risk, trust isn't an issue. But once you move into high risk, once things change, then people start to freak out a little bit and withdraw their commitment. So it's really important to have a definition that people understand. And this definition is really helpful. Other people might use different definitions because trust can sometimes be a trigger word. A company that I was working with recently, they use the term count on me, which is perfect. But when we don't have trust, what you'll find is that it's like walking through sludge. People don't think of others in their decisions or in their planning of work. They'll work around each other, block each other, request more information to slow things down, or they'll avoid communicating. And it's just not so nice. But when you get trust in your team, what you get is you improve the credibility of your team. I've seen this in lots of organizations that I've worked with. When people are in a team that's high trust, everyone not only wants to work in that team, they know that team will get stuff done. And you'll find that you get this beautiful candor. People will openly speak about issues, which is brilliant because you can tackle problems together. And of course, it increases the speed of decisions and your team performance. Because without trust, there is no meaningful connection between people. It's just meaningless coordination. And what I like to say is that trusted leaders create thriving workplaces. Now, you're probably all thinking, well, that's great. How do we get there? So to help get you there, I want to take you back in time, 50,000, 100,000 years ago when humans roamed the African savanna. Now, back then, life was pretty tough. You didn't know if you were going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or bitten by a snake. But as human beings, we learned that if we wanted to survive the night, we had to trust that people would look out for us, and they had to trust that we would look out for them. And so as human beings, we are actually biologically designed to want to be with other people, because we know that it helps our survival. And we also know that in a workplace, when we're with other people, we can do something bigger than what we can do on our own. But when we really worry about what other people think about us, we actually go into flight, fright, or freeze mode. So we work on the wrong tasks, we fixate on the wrong priorities, or, you might even see people get stuck. They just don't know what to do. And what's actually happening here is that we're operating from our limbic brain, or our limbic system. Now, this is actually a very old original brain. And if you put up your fist like this, it's pretty much that size. And this part of the brain was designed to actually help us survive and run away from those tigers. In fact, this part of the brain is where we store our habits, our patterns, and routines. So when you get up in the morning, don't think about how to brush your teeth or how to, use a knife and fork. It's all stored in here. And it's actually when we go into automatic mode, we're in this part of the brain. But the really interesting thing about this part of the brain is that it's responsible for processing emotions such as trust and loyalty. So when you actually trust someone, you're processing that in this part of the brain. Now, the real kicker is that it's got no capacity for language. So when you trust someone, really hard to explain in words. That part of the brain, no words, doesn't use language. So when you trust someone, it's based on how they make you feel. It's not based on what they say. And so as a leader, you can't actually talk your way into trust. You have to behave your way into it. And so what you want to do is you want to get into a part of the brain that is more beneficial. But before you get there, you need to understand that your actions and your words, people are watching them to make sure that they match. You've probably heard people say, he doesn't walk the talk. This is what people are wanting to see from you. We actually watch people's behaviors to see that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And we do this over time. It's not something that you can do quickly. Now, the interesting thing about this part of the brain also is that it doesn't like change. So it really wants to keep us safe. So if you're feeling very anxious, you're operating from this part of the brain. And it makes decisions based on fear, this really narrow perspective of what's available to us. And what's really interesting is that what leaders say and do are actually 70% of a difference as to whether or not an employee feels included. So what that means is, depending on, what leaders are saying and doing and matching those actions, it impacts whether people will speak up, go above and beyond, and actually collaborate. And it stops people from accessing that more high-functioning part of the brain I was talking about before. And this is the part of the brain here. Now, this is actually our prefrontal cortex, and it's actually located here. This is our newer brain. It's where we can see the beautiful vision. We can work out the steps to get there. It's where we plan and solve problems. It's that beautiful, positive space that we all love, particularly for all the visionary leaders out there. And it responds from choice, not that fear that I was talking about before. So you're probably wondering, well, how do you get into this part of the brain? Well, to get yourself and your people into this part of the brain, what we want to do is communicate to that limbic brain. And so we really have to ensure that when we're communicating to people, we're not just focusing on our words, we're also focusing on our energy, our intentions, and our nonverbal communication. And what the brain wants to see is evidence that we're all in this together, that we're not alone, that we're going to work together as a team. Using the words like we and together are like catnip for the brain. But of course, there is a challenge. You've got to really watch how you react and interact with others. And it involves making a choice. It involves being present. Is interacting with you one of reward or risk? Now, for example, I have a face that, I don't often look like I'm smiling. I have to work really, really hard to smile because I've received feedback from people that I look grumpy when I'm not. So it's really important that, I moderate that, because when people knock on my door and want help, I've got to, be really smiley so I don't look grumpy and angry. Because when you do that, people start going, oh, no, I can't talk to them. They don't like me, because that's what we do. So it's really important to focus on what you can control. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through 3 important ways to do this. Now, these factors that I'm going to share with you are based on neuroscience. And these are really what our brain needs to see and feel to trust the situation. So the first one is actually fostering safety. Now, fostering safety has two elements to it. There's psychological safety, when we can take risks, be ourselves, and know that we're not going to get hurt. And physical safety, knowing that we're not going to get physically injured in our job. Now, a few years ago, Google did a massive study called Project Aristotle, and they looked at 50 years of academic research on high performance and 250 variables. Now, they actually had thought that if you grab some fantastic engineers and some PhDs and some brilliant, even some extroverts, and you throw them all together, they will make this brilliant high-performing team. But what they discovered was that's actually not true. It doesn't matter who is on the team. What matters is how they interact. And it starts with a leader who actually models and extends trust to those in the team. So when it comes to psychological safety, it doesn't mean anything goes. It's really about enabling candor and having that really challenging work environment where people are really encouraged to be their best and really embrace feedback, which is very hard for our brains to accept, but it's really that beautiful continuous improvement that's so important to us. But of course, a lot of our work is very outcome based. And, you know, if you like to check off your checklist every day with your output, you can start to feel pretty bad about yourself if you don't really feel like you're making much traction. So we really want to help our people by not building your expectations on the result, but around what you will learn, because that helps people feel safe. And if you can actually reframe what people are learning, even though they feel like they're not achieving much, it can really help them feel much better. And then the second part is creating connection. Now, of course, this involves two parts. The first part is that sense of belonging, so good for our well-being, being in a community. This study by Better Up found that you get a 56% increase in job performance and 50% reduction in turnover risk and a decrease in employee sick days. But what I found in my research is that it's not just this type of connection that it's important, but it's also the connection in terms of how everything is connected together in a workplace. Now, I actually did a very big study in an organization that had 10,000 IT workers. And what they found was that some of the people would be working on a project and be just know how to code in one area, but not understand anything more, and they didn't care. They just worked on their little part of the pipe, as they called it. And so they made poor decisions, didn't consider the customer, and they were driving everyone crazy. And this was like throughout this whole big 10,000 person department. And so as a leader, what you want to do is you want to be able to grab like all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle and show everyone what that jigsaw puzzle looks like. So it's connecting how all the different parts fit together, from the projects, the products, the platforms, and the priorities. And this really requires aligning everyone's self-interest to the business purpose. So what I mean by that is it's really important for people to feel like their work is meaningful. And the way to do that is to help people see how their work benefits them, how it benefits their colleagues, how it benefits you, internal customers and external customers. Now, the third factor is stepping into a meaningful future. Now, back in August 2020, my father-in-law passed away. He was a dairy farmer and worked really hard all his life. In fact, he would essentially get sick every couple of years to give himself a bit of a holiday in hospital. Now, towards the end of his life, he had a heart surgery and he started getting depressed while he was recuperating, and it slowed it all down. And when we went in to see him, he said, "Oh, I don't really feel like I have a future anymore." And we helped him understand what he could do in his contribution, and he recovered. But then towards the end of his life, he had dementia, and he had a fall, and he'd had hip surgery, and that was kind of the end. And he was in and out of a coma and having heart attacks and all sorts of horrible things happened to him. But on the last night of his life, he was in hospital, and my mother-in-law, Margaret, was sitting beside him, and he woke up really startled and anxious, and he said incredibly clearly, which had been rare, he was very lucid, and he said, "I can't see my future. I can't see my future." And Margaret said, it's okay, Graham. You don't need to know your future anymore. Everything's taken care of. And it was almost like he visibly relaxed. And 30 minutes later, he was able to peacefully let go. But we're all a bit like Graham. We all want to know that we have a future. And as leaders, your people are looking to you that there is a future, and they want to know that it's brighter than our past. And they want to know you have a plan to get there. And of course, there is so much uncertainty, but what we want to do is create a perception of certainty. And the way to do that is to really help people understand where we are now and where we want to be. So if you imagine being in a shopping center and you go to the map and you type in where you want to go, say, Chanel, and it draws this beautiful little animation. It says, you are here, and it tells you this is where you need to go. And that's what you want to help your people understand. Well, this is where we are. This is what's not working. This is what's working. This is what we're going to keep. And this is what we need to do to get to this beautiful, shiny new future. So if we were to, you can just imagine that we've got safety here and connection here. And, safety, you're not going to feel safe if you're not connected, and you're not going to feel connected if you don't feel safe. And that's underpinned by future. You're not going to feel safe and connected if there's no future, and hard at work and effort's not going to amount to anything, or the company's not going to survive. And you can kind of get that they all interact and work together. So if I were to actually draw that out as a model, this is what it would look like, which is from my book, the book Trusted to Thrive. And you can see around it, we have all these questions. These are questions that our brains ask to make sure that we're okay. Is it safe to be myself? Do these people like me? Do I belong here? Am I doing meaningful work? Do I like these people? What's my future with these people? Are there career development opportunities for me? Are there opportunities for promotion? Can I trust these people to look out for me? Now, when we have safety, connection, and future, they catalyze to form trust. Now, trust is the beating heart of your team. And those interactions are important. They're like meetings and one-on-ones that you can see at the intersection between safety and connection. Visibility is between connection and future. In my research, I found that visibility was so huge. People really want to see their leaders. They want them on site, who at least say hello to them or acknowledge them in meetings online. They want to actually have visible dashboards of the work that's going on, the priorities. They want to know that the visibility of commitment to values. They want to see their leaders living those values visibly. They want to know that leaders are getting along. There's so many different elements to that. And accountability, of course, that's a culture of accountability. People want to be trusted to do great work, and they also don't want low performers to be tolerated, because that just brings down the performance of the team. So with this model, you can liken it to, if you are, say, a space captain of a spaceship, and you need to send out an astronaut to do an experiment on the spaceship. So to do that safely, you would have to tether them, and that would ensure that they're safe, that they're connected to everyone, and they can go outside knowing they're going to go have a future, because they're not going to float away in space. And when we feel like that, we have this beautiful autonomy and freedom, and we know we can explore the world around us, be curious, we can learn, and that we are still loved and appreciated by the people that we work with. So to finish up, I actually want to really remind you that leadership is a gift. And it really is, when you are a leader, you have this ability to impact people's life in a positive way. And it's really about the fact that, if people have had a good day at work and they've felt valued, seen, and heard, they're going to go home and they're going to treat their family better. They're not going to kick the dog because they've had a good day. And that creates such a beautiful ripple effect across society. And one of the things I've said for so many years is that, if we all do this, we can have peace on earth. And I really do mean that. So my questions for you are, what conditions can you really do to ensure that, your team want to stay? And you can do this through how you make a safe environment, how you connect people, hold people accountable, and really share that exciting future and knowing that they have a part of a future together. So, just to finish up, because I know that I'm almost at time, I know that I've shared a lot with you today, and I know that some of you are probably a bit excited and want to know more. So, I want to give you a couple of free things to help you on your leadership journey. So, the things that I want to give to you, and it's a free leadership assessment tool that I've developed that's based on that model. And so if you're interested in that and getting it, you can just email me at marieclaire@trustology.com.au, and I'll send you out the free assessment and a free chapter of my book. And you'll also I do leadership articles every week on my blog, so you'll also get access to that as well. So that's it from me, and I look forward to connecting with you all in the Q&A.
Whoa, thank you, Mary Claire. It was amazing. So please stay tuned because soon we're gonna have a Q&A sessions, and I could see several questions for you. So it'll be super exciting. Yuria, that's the time. So if you want to know more about Mary Claire, the link that we show here right now. Whoa, that's amazing. You can learn more about it. So trust is super necessary. And we got super amazing questions, Mary Claire. So if you want to learn more about trust, see you in a couple minutes. And see you in a couple minutes too. So let's move on to the next speaker. Let me check who. Oh, yes, it's me. Let's talk a little bit about staff engineer. So I could see a lot of people who want to become um, staff engineer, but what does that mean? So what is a staff engineer and what a staff engineer can do? To explain a little bit more that, let me first share my screen. 1 second. Let's share my screen right now. And I will explain a little bit about the area that I'm working for a long time and be super honest. I enjoy a lot where we integrate with communication, with leadership, and as Mary Claire already said, with trust around the whole organization. Why? Because we need to be trusted by the technical team, because we'll be close to the engineering team, and at the same time be close to the CEO people to manage people who is not usually the super technical person. So you become a bridge between tech and no tech, especially to achieve results in the business perspective. So today let's talk about more about staff engineer. So I want to become a staff engineer, but what is that? How can I achieve? And so on. Before I start, I need to explain more around the technical career person. So for example, 20, 15 years ago, we only had one path. So I went to my university or to the college, start my career, then I graduated as engineer, got a job, no more as internship in the early career, then mid-level, I become senior and done. So if I want to move forward with my career, I need to become a manager. That is no good, right? I mean, if a technical person, I want to keep a technical person, how can I do? How can I keep achieving this result? Once the technology become more complex and required more knowledge, was born another areas around it. So it's right now is impossible to say that company is not a software company because every company is a soft company by Forbes. Every company is a data company by CEO Network. And right now, especially during the pandemic situation, a lot of business accelerated through software. Thus, every business is a software business. Right now, it's almost impossible to imagine a single business if without have any kind of software. So the technology become a super strategic resource to any organization, especially because everything is around software. And that put us, the experts, in the highlight because every decision that we take, every decision that we make might impact the business. It doesn't make sense to put somebody else who has no idea about IT to take that decision. In that moment was born also the CTO, and the T is a C level of technology. Again, software is a strategic resource for everybody. And because of that, the market increased a lot. And right now we got several tools, several companies, and this includes even the developer experience company, the industry of soft development. And what does that mean? We do have companies that provide tools, language, database, service for another developers. And right now we are facing a complexity paradox because we have so many options to develop a software that's become hard to find. The complexity paradox we are living, for example, when you go to watch Netflix, because we have so many options that sometimes I can say by me on my side, I spend more time choosing the movie or the series than watching. For example, yesterday I spent 35 minutes choosing the movie, and after watching, in 10 minutes I fall asleep. Thus, I spend more time choosing the movie than watching. And that's happened with soft development right now. So the complexity, because we have a lot of choice, is killing the soft developers. And especially to the young generation, because we are living the hype effect. But right now, we have a huge amount of hypes. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we had one hype for a year. Right now, we do have hype by 5, 10 hypes for a year. So we have much more hypes to handle. And these hypes leads a mistake for us because as soft engineers, soft architect, we well know that every decision that we take around soft design, soft architecture, and soft development has a trade-off. It's impossible to escape that. But as I said, people who has a huge knowledge and experience, and that's the right point because we need to have the right balance between opportunity and technology. Because if we only focus on technology, we know how to do, but not why and what to do. And when we only focus on opportunity in business perspective, we know the why and the what, but how about who? We must have the combinations, thus merge to fit the why, how, and what, right? So we must to have the right balance. But as you can see, there's a huge distance between opportunity and the technical perspective. And the follow question is who gonna fit this area? Who gonna occupy and be the bridge between opportunity and technology? To answer your question, was born a new kind of career. That is the staff plus engineer. The whole idea of this career path is be beyond the management track. At the same time, it will become a leader, a technical leader. The idea right now with the evolution of the technical area is because right now we have more alignment with the manager path. This person is a technical leader, and that's mean, as Marie Claire said, the trust must be around us. If you want to go to a staff because we don't want to handle with people, you are doing a wrong path. A staff engineer is about people, is to link people with technology, as I said, the right balance. If you don't enjoy people, it is okay. It's hard to live, but it's okay. And senior is an end. It's impossible to be a staff engineer if without handle with people because we need to mentor people, we need to talk with clients, we need to handle with stakeholders, we need to handle with C levels and so on. Indeed, a staff engineer is a C level person, is a tech executive person. Okay, so this here is the path that we usually have in the most modern companies where we have the expert path and the engineering manager path. Okay. As a staff or technical person, we start after senior, then become a staff, then principal, finally distinguished, and some organization might have also the fellow engineer. And that is why we call the area as staff plus. Because as you can see, we start with staff and then move forward to new career path. So staff, something, principal, distinguished, and so on. And when we talk about career path, especially staff path engineer, the first question that might came out of your mind is the impact and the new rules that we need to face after senior. I love this article by Manfred that's still super predated that measure the impact by organization. So a staff engineer will impact more the code. And what does that mean? This person will still doing more code like a senior. However, they should impact more around organizations, around teams, help with architecture definitions, help with proof of concept, and so on. When this person become more mature and more knowledge, this person might be ready to the next step of their career. That is the principal engineer that might impact the product or the director area. Okay. And what does that mean? They will combine and mentor several staff engineers and guide them. Work to elevate the quality codes inside the organization, elevate or raise the bar of soft development and soft engineer, propose new ideas around the product and to the team itself, engage with meetups to the organization. Uh, in the real world, the principal engineer should be an expert that everybody trusts inside the organization. Um, and move on to the latest one that might be a distinguished or a fellow engineer who also need to mentoring principal engineer. Usually people or usually organization has several requirements to move to the next level. For example, to become a principal engineer, we should mentoring people who is candidate to our share. So we go to principal and move somebody as a staff engineer. Remember, raise the base raise the quality bar of the organization. And when you're principal and you decide to move on to distinguish, usually the organization asks for you, okay, who you gonna put to replace you? Who will you be the next principal engineer? That's why it's super critical to mentoring people as principal engineer as well. Move to people to raise the quality bar. And move on to distinguished engineer. Right now, not just the entire organization trusts in you, but the whole world trusts you. For example, Gavin King is a distinguished engineer from Red Hat and IBM, and is super well known because he is the creator of Hibernate. So the entire IBM Red Hat trusts him, and also outside the organization trusts him. James Gosling as father of Java and so on. So the distinguished engineer is one person who will guide the business of the whole organization. Is it has a tight relation with the VP. Okay, is one person who guide technically the organization, understand what needs to move on, see what the next step, carrying was worth to carrying, and so on. And of course, mentoring principal engineers, staff engineers, and so on. Um, okay, I explained to you what is a staff engineer. Again, is a person who has the quality for move the career and technical path. And how about who is this person? Who is able to achieve this share? A staff engineer is a person who has no team. This person is an expert. But as I said, and I need to say every single time as much as possible, it does not mean this person is outside the society, and it is one excuse to don't work with people. Again, as I said, software development goes beyond code. It's to people, from people, if people, through people. And usually you will mentor and guide people to achieve that knowledge or to achieve that result. And of course, keeping coding. And every time I talk about who can do or can be a staff engineer, is one person who's able to understand strategy and results, see a long term around software engineer, be more proactive, care around the business, overseeing, and mostly avoid waste of time, waste of resource, waste of everything around software development and technology. And explain more about who can be a staff engineer. It's super new area around software engineer. It's keep changing, like the whole software engineer is changing, and there's no unique path. I mean, there are different styles of staff engineer. There are different specializations of staff engineer, and mostly there are different impact. I can do some relationship of an impact, but those might be different impacts. For example, who is expert of front end might impact differently from who is a backend engineer. Okay, explain a little bit around archetypes here. I'm using as reference the book by Will Larson, where it provides four different archetypes. The first one is a tech lead, one person responsible for guide a particular team. This here is of course a sample of our weekly calendar of a staff engineer who provides this archetype. And as you can see, it provides regular stand-up discussions, one-on-one meetings, codes on architecture proposal, architecture review, and so on, in even interview. So is one tech person who is responsible to engage and talk with people. Usually this tech lead archetype fits very well to the person who is beginning in the staff engineer area. Then we do have a solver. Solver is one person who interact less with people. Remember, interact less does not mean no interaction. Okay, so this person is still have one-on-one meetings, interview meetings, team meetings, but as you can see, the majority of the time is doing code, analyzing the code, and so on. The third archetype that we cover today is the architect archetype. Is one person who will guide direction in critical area inside the organization. So the person who is still doing one-on-one mentoring, meetings, and so on, but of course, reviewing, and proposing architecture review. Okay. And the last one that we'll cover today is the right hand. Is someone who will be the executive attention. So okay, the C-level wants to make these things done, but they usually don't know how. Is responsibility of the right hand to understand what needs to do and achieve that result. So different archetypes, different specializations, and one good point here is as higher specialization is better for you. For example, if your organization has several experts in Java, front end, back end, Docker, SRE is better for you. Because if your organization only has Ruby experts, it's important to remember that the software development is not only about Ruby or Java. We right now are facing several languages. For example, database. It's important to have a person who knows a lot of database, who knows about front end, who knows about back end, and so on. So the diversity here is super critical to your organization. So a strong organization is organization who has more diversity on specialization. And once I mentioned the specialization, it's important to mention the T-shaped skill, where the idea is impossible to know everything around software development. Please don't do it. But what you can do is you have some idea what's going on in the words, a broad idea, and then go deep in some specialization. For example, myself, I know what's happened with cloud, with Kubernetes, and things like that. However, I mean, if you need someone to put Kubernetes in production, I'm not the person. I'm not the right person to do it. I'm a person who will handle with Java, who will handle with architecture, who will handle with some things around the backend, but not the cloud perspective, the SRE. Yes, you can try to know everything, some generalist experts, but as I said, it's impossible to know everything about around IT. So you'll be a person who knows broadly a lot of stuff, but not an expert in anything. So you'll be like a clinical doctor. It is fine, it's a career, but it's hard to imagine a career. I mean, when something goes wrong, you go into any kind of expert. I mentioned several things they do have differently. Let's talk about similarities. So working staff, they most of the time will work on what matters. They will write strategy, especially the technical perspective, the software development perspective. Handle with the technical quality, that means help with documentation, help with tests, align with authority, trust, and be present in around the executives. My main goal here is not to talk about the technical perspective around software development, but those are super important and crucial to understand. So if you want to become a staff engineer, the first step they recommend you is to understand very well about architecture and the strategic point of software development. Those are good books to start with. So fundamentals of software architecture, building microservice, evolutionary architecture, software architecture for developers, a philosophy of software design, and so on. So if you want to know more, please go ahead and read more about those books. Those are super crucial to understand better how to become one staff engineer on the technical perspective. Okay, I just said there is much more than be a technical person, especially because we need to help people. People need to trust you to achieve the biggest issue that we handle with organization. That is this fight the complexity. As young, you might remember that I want to put the new thing that I learned yesterday in production as fast as possible. But usually, for one thing that there's no reason, I put complexity. I don't solve any issue and also increase the complexity. So, complexity is your biggest enemy, especially because you need to oversee the organization in the technical perspective. And we usually talk about scalability, we talk about application. But let me tell one thing, super sad thing. The scalability of application is much easier than scalability of culture. Okay? What does that mean? It's much easier to escalate several Java instance servers than create a new senior engineer. It's much easier to create multiple instances of the database than escalate the number of front engineers or guarantee the quality of the code. So scalability goes beyond code again here. So if just one person knows everything, it's a single point of failure. If your culture is not well defined, is not well documented, or the people does not trust, is one point to fix. The methodology and the quality definition of done need to be clear to everybody inside the organization. Otherwise, waste of time, waste of complexity, waste of power and resource. Around around be staff engineer is to understand that everybody is important in the ecosystem. It doesn't matter how old this person is in the experience. Everybody needs to understand what's going on. So make sure that you're going to have scalability around the strategic resource in your organization. So make sure that you're going to escalate the software architecture. So those are good for steps to start to make it escalate. I mean, if you want to become a staff engineer and we realize there's nothing around us, it might be a good opportunity for you to start your career as a staff engineer to make the architecture more scalable, defining the map of your architecture using, for example, the C4 model. Define the technology views with Tech Radar. Avoid the same mistake twice with architecture decision record. And of course, a clear communication. Please do it. So be pragmatic, understand the why, avoid over engineering, and of course, simplicity is the key. Bad news. When you become a senior staff engineer, it is append is deprecated. You're not able to use it anymore, unfortunately. Why? Because the context is part of your job. You need to understand what you're doing, how you're doing, and most important, why you're doing things. The context here is the root of soft architecture. So imagine that the soft architecture is a tree. The context is the root. So based on the context, you are able to measure the trade-off. You are able to raise the right questions. You are able to define a good design in the technical perspective. And of course, to think on the long-term support of your code. Because if you do a code thinking only in the short time, in the short term, you are doing something wrong. with your organization and with your technical perspective. So don't do it. Again, say goodbye to it depends. Communication, trust is crucial, as I said. So English as first step. The majority of the communication, documentation, reference, and trains is in English. Understand the storytelling about what you're gonna tell, and of course, identify the targets. For example, I want you to use the newest version of the Java something. I can define or design a storytelling because to C-level, I will explain that okay, we will achieve a better result. We're gonna have better productivity. And to technical people, I will explain the new features of Java 17. Sorry, Java 21. So I want to do the same thing. Use the latest version of Java. But to C-level, I will explain one thing. To a technical person, I will explain another thing. Be able to understand and solve business. See beyond the code. Of course, we do have several challenges. So it's all mature occupations. There is a boundary between you and the management person to take decisions, to have meetings, to write code. You will decrease the code time. So you need to share your know. You will become super expensive to write hello world. You need to give space and delegate. And communications, opportunities, and yes, you need to do less code and more guide. As next step, my time is almost over. Read a book around self engineer, find yourself, become a mentor. So find a mentor for you, company, and when it makes sense, switch. If you want to know more about software engineering, my company able to help you. So please send me an email, Otavio at OS Experts, where we can talk more about mentorship to you become a staff engineer. And that is all for today. So let me stop sharing here. And thank you, everybody. Please, if you have any questions, and then let's move on to the Q&A session. Okay. So let's call again Mary Claire. Hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Okay. So we do have a huge amount of questions for you. So it's amazing.
Oh, goody.
So let's start with the first one here. How do you start to build trust in the team?
Yeah, it's a bit of it's a good question, and there's lots of different ways you can do it. Use those three things that I talked to you about: safety, connection, and future. So it's really about having conversations. Ideally, you meet in person. When you actually, that question's kind of a bit tricky because it depends on, is it a new team? There's lots of different ways, but anyway, I'll go general. It's hard to know if I can't ask you more questions. But it's really about consulting and working with each individual in the team. So ideally, you're doing one-on-ones with each team member if you're the leader, which I'm assuming you are. And, through building trust with each individual, then you bring people together and you really get everyone to share in the room, to talk about what they're doing, where they're at, where they're stuck, what help they need. And really doing it through this consultative approach where you're being really inclusive, and activities that you can do together, projects together, all those sorts of touch points are really important. And of course, as the leader, you want to model the right behaviors. So really showing interest in people, caring about them, all those things are really important.
Okay, this one I guess is super hard. Probably somebody broke the trust of the team, and how to rebuild that trust.
Yeah, again, context would be helpful, but I'll just make some assumptions. So, of course, it's really hard once trust has been broken. And sometimes you have to make an evaluation if it's worth your time and effort, because sometimes people you can't rebuild trust with because they're just not trustworthy. And sometimes, it might be someone that's you're not doing much work with, so you can kind of let it go. But if you really need to build trust with, say, someone in the team, then you need to sit down with them and talk about, well, this is what's been going on, this is what I need to achieve, and I need you, and this is what we need to achieve together, and really work together to move forward. But they've got to be open to doing that. And if they are, then that helps the process. But if they're not interested, then there's not much you can do. But, of course, if they have feedback for you and say, hey, I hate it when you don't listen to me, you shut me down or whatever it is, then you need to take action and show that you can be trusted, because both parties are responsible for trust. So I believe that the ultimate expression of trust is shared trust, where everyone works together to improve the working relationship.
Okay. Can you share concise example of integrating a trust building system into everyday interaction to reinforce a strong team culture?
Yeah, so you can do this in various ways. So it could be that you particularly in your communication, so we are talking verbally, so you might want to use language that helps people see that. So we are working together to create this vision, and I really value your input. I really appreciate your work. Really being able to give people praise and recognition and letting people know that you see their leadership potential. All these sort of emotional checkpoints are really important. So micro-validations is a nice term for it. So letting people know that you see them and appreciate them is really important. And one of the things I teach is, one-on-ones is a structured approach. Structure is really important for communication, and, really specific questions around improving safety and connection and future that help people really see how they're part of a team.
Oh, nice. How to explore the trust to engage people in the discussion? I mean, probably a lot of people is shy, so quiet. You want to drive the direction of the organization, but how to make people comfortable to share the knowledge and trust us as organization, for example?
Yeah, I presume that's talking to people about trust. So what I find a lot of my clients do is they might actually say, hey, I attended this amazing summit, the Run IT Leadership Technology Summit, and I discovered this integrated trust building system. I'd love to share it with you. And then you talk about it, you show it to them. It's really good to have a visual, and you talk it through. And then you ask people, questions, what about, what do you think about this? What can we do to trust each other more? How can we communicate to each other better? What can I do? Putting the onus on you. What can I do to build more trust with you? What can we do to improve our working relationship? How can I communicate better? All those sorts of things are really important. And, showing something and talking about it, it's a nice way of doing it without just saying, hey, how do we trust each other more? That's not so good.
Oh, nice. This one here, how do you increase trust if without getting into conflict with somebody else? Probably as experts, as you people start to trust you, might impact the manager, for example. How to handle that?
With the manager. Yeah, that can be tricky. Sometimes it's really about showing them that you care about them and you understand their needs, or you're interested in that. So it could be having a discussion with them when they're not really busy and stressed, and just, even saying, I really value our working relationship. I really want to, do work that you can rely on. I notice that you're really busy, is there anything that I can help you with? Or I notice that you're really stressed. Can I help you in any way? And just really show that you're there to support them. Because, we often think trust is earned or given, but they're both one way. So trust is earned is when we expect people to prove that they can be trusted, and that's pretty tough. Trust is given. We're kind of giving it all away, but, it's okay sometimes to do that because, people will disappoint you and that's cool, but you can take the loss. But, it's really important to have an upfront discussion with people about the importance of a good working relationship and how you both need to work on it together and find out what that person needs and let them know what you need. But you've got to have that two-way dialogue.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. How do you increase your trust as senior engineer?
Can be interpreted lots of different ways. As a senior engineer, to be honest, the best thing you can do, and this is what I find in the research in companies I've done, is that visibility is really important. So this is, if you're on site saying hello to people, don't walk past people and don't say good morning. Oh my gosh, in Australia where I come from, people get so upset by that. I'm pretty sure that's the same anywhere in the world. Acknowledge people, thank people, make sure. I'll tell you something really interesting. This big company that I worked with that I did research for, they had senior leaders in different IT departments, and there'd be something would happen in their team. And rather than there'd be some issue and the senior leader would have to go fix it. So they would usually just get on the phone and talk to the other leader about it and fix the issue. But employees didn't see that. So they just assumed because they didn't see anything that those leaders didn't like anything, they like each other, they hated each other, there was conflict. And so they therefore disliked that team as well because there was conflict, the leaders weren't getting along. But they just didn't see it. So I actually had to recommend that, hey, you go over, get on the phone and just say very loudly, or, go over there visibly and let people see you two talking and working things out. So, as a senior engineer, I'm pretty much assuming you're working across teams. So that work is really important as well, building trust across teams, not just with your team as well. And again, it's just through that two-way consultative dialogue.
Nice.
And,
Hello, Ed. Do you have any question?
Yeah, I actually joined.
I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I just play around.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for these advices. And I kind of feel the huge experience in years behind this, opinion or answers. And yeah, thank you very much. And I'm not sure, Otavio, are you out of questions to Marie-Claire, or you was going to ask more questions to Marie-Claire? I'm not sure. I can't see it on my big end because I have questions to you, man.
Okay, I have three questions to Marie-Claire.
Wow. Okay, then let's do it.
Yeah.
I'll be quiet for a while. Yeah.
No, don't worry. We still have time. So, Marie-Claire, what should I do to make people trust in the first weeks? That's easy. Wine and beer. It works better. It is better to be a technical leader, helping the task, giving support, and some-time programming. The second part, or more management leader, giving the contact necessary to finish tasks, checking possible extensions of the deadline or budget.
Going back to the first one, if you can just push it back so I can just see it. But look, I'm assuming whoever wrote that question, and thank you, that you're leading a new team. So one of the most important things that you can do, and I interviewed tech leaders and they told me that they did this and it made a huge difference, book one-on-ones every week. So, do it with your direct reports, do it with your manager, put them in the calendar, have them no matter what, and really learn about people, really learn about how they want to communicate, how they want to work, and let people know how you like to as well, and things that bug you and things that, make you happy. Really important to explain that. Even little things like, at 9 o'clock, I like to have a coffee. If I don't, I get grumpy. I say that. So those sorts of things are really important, just being really honest and building those relationships and really focusing on the relationships, and also really making sure you're getting work done at a good level and, being reliable in that manner. For the second question, this is such an IT person's question, honestly. Thank you. God bless you for asking this question. So if you are a leader, you really need to, and I presume that you've probably transitioned. So you're still stuck on all the technical stuff and you get a lot of validation from that. But to be a really good leader, you've got to kind of let that technical stuff go and really work on the interpersonal, which is building relationships, influence, communication, and interpersonal, which is self-awareness. So you'll want to make sure, and sometimes some organizations might give you a percentage. They might say, look, 60% technical, 40% people management. Depends on the size of your company and how much staff you have. So I don't know what sort of company you're in, so you might have to do more technical because there aren't that many people. But you really are going to have to prioritize more of the people side, because this is where you can become undone as a leader if you're spending too much on the technical. You've really got to start learning to delegate and letting go of that need to feel good doing the technical work, because you're a leader now. I hope that helps.
Whoa, thank you. Amazing. So, Eddie, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I like this style, like divide and conquer. The first
yeah.
days, you split the problem in eight bite by bite. Yeah, I like it. No, just I love.
Yes, I mean, usually wine and beer helps a lot. As Brazilian, I'm able to do some caipirinha drinks as well. So,
Yeah, but what if you are, you have the distributed team? That's a
distributed
challenge, right?
beers. Yes.
Distributed beers, right? Send some 6-pack, right? With like Amazon delivery and stuff,
Yes.
right?
I mean, if I may compare on the technical perspective, as a tech leader or a tech executive, I usually recommend 3 steps. The result, of course. People will trust you based on your result. Your visibility, as Mary Class said. And the last one is the knowledge. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you're able to explain what you're doing. People will trust you because of that. On the IT, I don't know about any areas. I mean, my majority of my time is doing IT. So I can say, okay, people follow me on my team because I'm Java expert and I usually do Java work. Or I'm software architecture and I usually do software architect. I usually don't lead team to do something around PHP because I'm not a PHP expert. I usually recommend somebody else to do that for me. And I guide this team on the technical perspective in high level, no deep level that's the activity required. But that's my opinion, okay? Okay. Okay, one question for me, Otavio. One of the problem about be manager in programmer in the same time is that you are going to overwhelmed by a lot of questions trying to find solutions. Yes, that is true. Go to meetings and sometime you need to deliver a task. How the company should treat the professional and what the professional should focus. The good news right now is we have the Y career where you're able to choose between be a manager or an expert. Based on that, my recommendation to organization is explore more asynchronous communication. Of course, as Mary Claire said, one-on-one is super important, crucial. But if you fill up your schedule, your weekly agenda with several one-on-ones, you're not able to do something else. And meetings in the IT perspective is one thing super expensive. I mean, you are stopping 10 engineers, 25 engineers. My recommendation for you is explore documentations, source, and asynchronous communication to decrease the number of meetings. So it helps a lot. I know it's tough, especially between generations. And eventually, you need to decrease the number of code, especially because you, as staff engineer, on that case, you'll be handled by the result, not as individual, but as a team. For example, I'm responsible to the finance area and architecture perspective. So it doesn't matter if I design a good architecture. If the team is not able to implement, it's a failure on me. So I need to be close to people to define the architecture, to design the architecture, to draw the architecture, and also to help people to implement that. Otherwise, again, it's a failure. Okay. Let's move on to the next question.
Yeah, this one is to you probably.
Okay. What challenge did you encounter when transitioning from developer to a technical lead in management? How did you maintain technical proficiency despite less daily coding? The first point, I am not a manager. I am technical leader, but I don't lead with budget and things like that. That's why we have both. We have the manager path and the expert path. I can be an expert and leader at some time. That is the exact definition of be an staff engineer. Okay? So the book by Uri Larson has a subtitle, Leadership Beyond Management. So yes, you can do it. Of course, based on that, you do less code. What I usually do, I spend a lot of time doing open source because I can learn, I can help, I can increase my credibility. As Marie Claire said, it's super important for us inside and outside the organization. Okay, so let's see if I do have more questions. Oh, I do have one more. As tech leader, how can we maintain trust, the safe feeling of our team if the source of untrust come from the outside, such as requirement from the clients or product manager that always changing deadline that does not make sense? Assume these things cannot change.
If I may interrupt you with answering this
Yes,
question
all
and
the time.
jump back come on, to previous one, because this is like very important question, because we face like a lot of fear of skilled um, developers, engineers become a manager, actually, because they say, I love code. I'm a tech person, and if even they are really good in communication and management skills, and you can feel it, but they say it will be less code, and I will stuck in all these meetings, Excel or everything. So lots of fear on that, and thank you for sharing this good news that there's still like you can stay like tech guy. But Marie Claire, maybe you have some experience dealing with this kind of doubts, and what is the best ideas on first steps to not get yourself like killed as as an engineer?
Yeah, so I have another model that I talk about that I didn't show today, but it's as a leader, we actually really want to build our self-awareness. And it's about knowing who we are and our purpose and our values, because when we are really clear on what we can achieve and we're strong in who we are, then we have a different energy and a more positive energy, and our team can feel that. And when we work with our team in a way that connects everyone together using safety for future and connection, then that team is much stronger. And so, it's about being able to reframe some of the issues and just really focusing on your team, that everything's going to be okay and that you're learning together. And even though things might be a little bit tricky with this client or whatever it is, that, you'll make it through. So, there are always going to be external influences we have no control over. But if we're strong in our core and know who we are, and we're strong in who our team is and what we're achieving, and we bring everyone together in that way, then we're more likely to be able to withstand all those uncertain external forces that we can never control, but we can control how we react.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah, that makes absolutely sense. Yeah, Otavio, speaking about the same question, what challenge, not challenges, but what like benefits of becoming a tech leader instead of being a tech guy? Of course, beside the salary, beside the grading, how it develops you as a I don't know, personality probably. Do you have any ideas on that?
Oh yes. I mean, be a technical person and tech leader also mean that your credibility needs to increase inside and outside the organization. This is super critical, especially because you are a technical person who everybody should trust on the technical decision. So people will wait for you to bring more innovations, more productivities, more inspirations, and of course, ways to increase the technical and perspective inside the organization. Say that um, the expectation is super high to you, and sometimes you need to share what you know, make yourself scalable. I mean, through blogs, articles, and presentation, things like that. And sometimes be close to the team, be a leader that the team needs to be. And the good points about this is yes, if you enjoy a lot of code, you enjoy a lot to be a technical person, is the right path. And the point against is exactly that. People will see you as a tech person. So the technical requirement will be super high than a senior. So people will expect you that you know about the JVM channels. If you are Java expert, they will know trust you if you are not that. How to make everything scalable, how to design a good architecture. People will come for questions that is not available in Stack Overflow, ChatGPT, and things like that. And usually those questions are tough because if it's not in Stack Overflow or it's not able to answer the ChatGPT, is because a tiny group is able to answer that question. In this tiny group should be you included as staff engineer.
Wow, that wasn't obvious actually. Thank you. It's like expands your even like knowledge and proficiency. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you from answering the last question. Could you please go again with that? Sorry again.
No, there's no sorry. Come on, join us. It's amazing. Thank you, Ed. So, Mary Claire, it's a continuation of the question, right? I mean, about trust. I mean, how can you make increase the trust of the team when there's something outside that are able to control is making the feeling of untrust.
Oh,
It
I thought we
includes the
did that just
requirements.
before.
Yes,
I thought we
exactly.
did that one. I think it's done.
Ah, it's done.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. So
So there's no
then
questions.
no questions. Then the last one,
Ah, okay, okay. Can
this
you
one probably, yeah.
Yes. Can you provide actionable tasks to increase specialization among your engineers? Into in a company that cultivated a full stack mentality, my advice for you is to have like weeklies of groups. I mean, you can have small internal meetups to share knowledge, to share news. And as much I appreciate the idea of full stack, okay, I know much, but there is people who believes that. As I said, it's almost impossible to one person knows everything. So, and also the term full stack is super broad and can mean everything. My first step for you is define what is full stack for your organization. So, okay, a full stack for your organization is to be able to understand a minimal of database, a minimal of front end, a minimal of back end, minimal of Kubernetes, but each point. And based on that, understand that people might be experts in something else. And then create a meetup, an internal meetup to the basic knowledge that everybody should know, and then start to move on to specializations meetups where you are able to share news on the group or Slack channel, whatever you're using right now, and also have some monthly meetings to talk about that. My recommendation is do it bi-weekly or monthly because it's time. You're gonna stop a couple of engineers to discuss something. So it should not be like every week or every time. So choose one time like to a bi-weekly or monthly meetings to broad more the idea in the culture inside the organization. And of course, incentivate people to write in the blogs of the organization. Incentivate people to write or do a presentation to the YouTube channel of your organization to broad the idea what is the full stack for your organization, the news around this full stack.
That's great. Thank you. Really, really useful. Um, mm, yeah, I also myself have lots of questions to this full stack stuff mentality, but anyway, we're not here about that. Yeah, maybe the final words from you guys as experts. Um, we all need more leaders in our organizations because more leaders, more engagement, more success. Um, what would you say to future leaders, to engineers who think about, yeah, I have skills, I think about next steps, but I have some doubts? How would you encourage? What would you say to them to engage them? Marie Claire, what do you think?
Oh, I'm going to be controversial. And I'm going to say if someone has doubts and doesn't feel like they're a people person and doesn't really like leading people or helping people or teaching people, then leadership is probably not for them. But if you do actually enjoy supporting others and really want to lead people, and it's hard. People management is really hard, and you want that challenge, then go for it. But there's nothing wrong with going sideways and being an expert and just focusing in your little wheelhouse. So that's my advice.
Oh, no pushing. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. And Otavio, what do you think? What do you say to them?
Oh, yes. As Marie Claire said, so step by step, brief, understand who you are, right? I mean, what you want to do, because each path has challenges. I mean, be a manager, be an expert, but understand that both areas at the end, you need to be or you must be a leader. As manager, you need to handle with salary, the discussions and things like that. As a technical expert, you need to handle with the soft quality, with technology, strategic of your organization. In both areas is about people, business, and requirements to achieve results. So at the end, we are talking about OKRs, KPI, and things like that. And as Marie Claire said in her presentation, trust, credibility, reliability at the end.
Thank you. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for sharing your energy, your time. Yeah, you'll never know unless you try it. So we want to encourage new leaders to try to feel yourself in this position and then decide actually. Nothing so crucial if you try, but you will have your regrets if you don't actually. That's my opinion, but I'm not a speaker of this conference. Sorry about that. Anyway, thank you very much. Have a nice break, Otavio, because I know the next block is also for you, right? Or I'm mistaken? No? Probably yes. No? Oh, no, it's a mistake. Marie-Claire, thank you very much for joining us, for sharing. People, please feel free to visit Marie-Claire's website and see what she's got for you. Thank you and goodbye, and I will make a few announcements now. Yes, and this is it. This is the end of the first block, which is free actually. It's a junior part or junior track, name it however you want. Because we wanted to just give you an opportunity to see how it goes, what's Geekle, how it works, what speakers are, who we are. Next two blocks is members only, so feel free go there to the website and buy the full access tickets to this conference, to this, and the part two is also will be included in this ticket. Thank you for being with us. We have, here's a banner you can find if you still don't know the address of this website /run IT. So it's all about how to run IT business, IT processes. We have some really short break, and then we'll jump back and hear more about the road to become a great solution architect from next speaker. Thank you for joining. Let's take some coffee or whatever you drink and get back to the next speaker. See you.